Good afternoon. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Georgetown. As I've told you week after week, we are the greatest club in Rotary. And y'all think I'm just saying that for the fun of it, don't you? Have y'all ever been to other clubs? Who has been to other clubs? Can you compare the difference in our club to theirs? And the activity that happens in our club? Nothing even comes close. And when people come in, as George Oliver says, some other clubs from, move here from other places, they see this club and they go, this is where I want to be because things are really happening here. So my name is George Lorigan. I am honored and humbled to act as your president this year. Let's go ahead and get started. Need someone for an invocation. David Kellerman's here. Kevin Kelly is not, so I need two people to help out. There's Denise and everybody. Very good. Yes.
Invocation, she'll do the pledge.
Okay.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing us together today in this fellowship of great Rotarians doing service above self for our mankind. We thank you for the food given to us today, for the nourishment of our body. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have several milestones today. So we don't have any member birthdays, but we have spouse birthdays. And that is Karen Wilson's husband, Bill. Anniversaries, we have Rhonda and Chris Pritchard, 24 years. Amber Kurkowski and Charles Witt, 8 years. Club anniversaries, we have Ron Barrick, 16 years. Miranda Bradley, 1 year. Lisa Grant, 1 year. Dan Gaddis, 13 years. Georgianne Hewitt, 4 years. And John Tyler, 5 years. Salute. Thank you. Salute.
Thank you very much. If you brought a guest, please stand and introduce them. Do you have any guests today? There's one. Who brought you? You brought yourself?
Okay.
We have a microphone there.
Okay, fair enough.
Hi, everybody. Once again, we have Mark from KTEC, and he is joining our club. I think this is the last week, right, before you're official. Anyway, so please welcome Mark. And I'm especially delighted to introduce Wendy Bradley. Wendy is here from TDS, or Texas Disposal Systems, one of the most important aspects of the Field of Honor, because they bring those beautiful Cadillac porta potties. So we're very, very grateful to them. Please welcome Wendy Bradley.
With us today we have Erica Algo. Erica visited us last week and she said, okay, I've seen enough, I want to be a part of this club, and submitted an application last week. So welcome to Erica.
Any other guests? How about visiting Rotarians? You visiting Rotarians today? None. Dennis, Sergeant at Arms, what do you have today?
The only significant thing is that the man that people
How much was that? $232? $213. Thank you very, very much. No, she used it for vacation. She's heading to Canada. She's heading to your home. George Oliver.
Just two really quick things. Mark Wells was introduced. Mark has had his application accepted by the board. His sheet is still on the table here for the second week. so for review. So if you want to go by and review his application, it's there. And also Erica, as I mentioned, has applied, and later on this month she will be appearing to the board to submit her application to the board. Michelle Marshall, you've heard us talk a little bit about in the past things we can do to get the word out about Rotary. One of those was wearing a license plate bracket on your car and becoming a rolling billboard for Rotary, and Michelle is here to kind of give you an update on that.
Thank you to everybody that ordered the license brackets. We've put the orders in. There was 30 total that were ordered, so we did get the break point. If anybody didn't get your order in, you can still order one, but you won't get the group break point, so just let me know and we can have Carol order some more. But they should be here, I know she's ordered them, so within the next week or two we should have them in. And then just one more plug for PR. We are almost at 1,000 likes on the Field of Honor page, so if you haven't liked it, I know that there's a lot of people in here that have not liked the page yet, and please go online to Facebook and like the Field of Honor as well as the Rotary Facebook page.
Good stuff, good stuff. Thank you very much, George. Thank you, Michelle. Can you believe it? Our board members are actually working with each other and coordinating efforts? That's pretty amazing. I love it. Texas Disposal System, we had a moment already to introduce Wendy Bradley. We thank you very, very much for providing the facilities much needed for the Field of Honor. We will use them and enjoy them. Y'all remember last year with those absolutely awesome porta pots that are, heated? Like last year the heat was important, right? Okay. Heated, air conditioned, they're just fantastic facilities instead of going in this little plastic dungeon. And anyway, thank you. That makes all the difference in the world. So we're going to do a little different again this week. We're going to go right into our speaker, and then we're going to have a few more announcements at the very end. So without any further ado, there's Russ Phillips. Please introduce our speaker.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Russ Phillips. I'm a 16-year member of this club, and I guess by way of classification talk, I sell residential real estate here, have for 18 years. So we've covered that, check that box. I'm excited to introduce you today to our guest. The organization that Terry is with has a very near and dear place in my heart. And I will tell you, you'll notice that I have a different sort of necktie on today. This is what cowboys in Wyoming and Montana refer to as a wild rag, and it's silk, and the whole point of it essentially is a warm neck translates into a warm body. So given that I have not fully warmed up today, I chose to keep it on. But in 1992, I was living in a railroad boxcar in remote New Mexico. My father and I were 100% estranged from each other. And I was working on a ranch. I was in the saddle every day. The weather was miserable. And I didn't speak English that day, or in those days. The ranch I worked for, everybody else spoke Spanish. So by the end of the day, I was hungry to hear some English. And we were so remote that we only picked up one radio station. And when I would get off work, the only thing I could pick up on the radio was focus on the family's daily broadcast. I can tell you, it annoyed me at first that was my only chance to hear English in remote New Mexico, because I knew that my father followed this organization and supported it, and given the terms that our relationship was on, I had lots of incorrect perceptions of this group. Well, as luck would have it, my desire to hear English on a daily basis overcame my annoyance. And after about a week of listening to the daily broadcast, I realized, you know what? There's a lot that I liked about this group and what they had to say. And in fact, they've kind of touched my heart on a couple of occasions. And then I had an epiphany when I wondered, if I was wrong about this with my father, what else am I wrong about? And as a 22-year-old, I think God really used that situation. And when I was back in Texas, I sought out my father, and for the last 8 years of his life, we had a very close relationship, and I credit Focus on the Family for that. So a little bit about Terry. He's good people. He is from here, currently resides in Colorado Springs. He's related to both Santa and Danny Swafford. I'm not sure how that works. He's a native of Austin, and he is a graduate of Texas A&M. So yes, he does have that whooping cough that those people get. Anyway, without further ado, I just am happy to introduce you to Terry and focus on the family.
There you go. I think it's Brooks and Dunn that have a song called Should Have Been a Cowboy. Is that the right group that sings that song? That I should have been a cowboy, because I know you were. I appreciate you, Russ. Thanks for introducing me. It's good to be here today. It's good to be in Texas. On Wednesday, it was -1 degree at my house in Colorado Springs, and we had 10 inches of snow on the ground. And that may sound lovely to you, and it is lovely, except when it happens this early in the year for us. So there are quite a ways to get here. But I'm happy to be here, and I appreciate that introduction, Russ. I really do. I am a 6th-generation Texan. I want to just tell you a little bit of story about that, and then I'll tell you a little bit more about focus on the family. So my ancestors came into Galveston up through Houston and settled in Serbin, Texas, which is near Giddings. And they were peanut farmers. In 1856, they came up through the Galveston, Houston area. That's my dad's side of the family. My mom's side of the family is in the late 1800s, landed here in Central Texas. My grandmother is from Copper Cove, not too far from here. She met my grandfather, and they had a farm in Walburg, which still is a farm, 77 acres that were hard worked. Mom was a cotton farmer, so when she was younger, she would actually take the 9-foot long sacks and go pick cotton with her brothers and sisters in the Texas heat in August. So that's a little bit of the history there of my grandparents, at least. And then I grew up in Austin, was blessed to live in Northwest Austin. Spent a lot of time, though, coming back to the farm up in Walburg. And my grandfather taught me a lot of great things, including how to chew tobacco, which I don't know how great that is anymore, right? But he always bought the Mel pouch tobacco in the 10-pound blocks. And he would put it in old Beech Nut or Levi Garrett, or what was the other one that he would have? Red Man pouches. And so he taught me, Terry, you know, I was probably 14 or 15 at the time. And let me tell you something. If you've ever chewed Levi Garrett, and if you'll let me digress for a moment, the stuff that's in the mail pouches and the 10-pound blocks does not really taste like that. And one of my greatest heroes, John Wayne, had a phrase he would say, "This stuff is not for the young." And that was so true about that. But I love my grandparents. There's a Jerry Jeff Walker song called the Pickup Truck Song. And being an Aggie, I really like Jerry Jeff Walker. So if you don't appreciate Jerry Jeff Walker, I'm sorry. I can introduce you to him someday, and you'll like him, I'm sure. But his song goes, I used to look forward to Saturdays when me and my grandpa would get away. We'd hop in the pickup truck and we'd go into town. And that is so true. I think he wrote that song about me and about my grandfather. And somehow the truck would wander around, and we ended up in Georgetown quite often on Saturdays. And we'd have to pick up something for my grandmother at Gold's department store. So if you've been around Georgetown a while, you know Gold's was the place to go. Or maybe he'd go down and we'd go to Drager Motors, which is not here anymore, and get something for the vehicle. So I have a long history here and a blessed history, and I'm really, really proud of that. To me, family is the most important thing. So my family history, mom and dad, like I said, living in Austin, went to Texas A&M University, was blessed to work for 20 years in high tech. I worked for 2 companies that are some of the world's largest high-tech companies. One based in Santa Clara, California, but they had an office here in town for 11 years there. Then I worked for the last 9 years of my high-tech career at a really small computer business a few miles down the road in Round Rock called Dell Computers. You may not have heard of that place, I don't know. But was blessed to be there as well. I felt the Lord calling me to do something more significant. So I followed Focus on the Family. My wife and I had listened to Dr. Dobson's broadcast. Then we listened to Jim Daly's broadcast when Jim took over the helm at Focus on the Family. And we bought their books. We followed their parenting advice. And I just felt that a calling to do something different in my life. So 3.5 years ago, I accepted a position with the Office of the President at Focus on the Family, working for Mr. Jim Daly, which is what I do now. And fortunate to travel around places and talk with people about Focus on the Family. If you're familiar with Focus on the Family, you know that we've been around for a few years. In 1977, Dr. Dobson, down in Pomona, California, did his first broadcast with Focus on the Family. 42 years is what we're up to now. Dr. Dobson retired 10 years ago, and Jim Daly then took the helm as president of Focus on the Family. Focus on the Family is located in over 13 countries. You may not have known that. We have 13 sites around the world, headquartered in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Beautiful place to be. But we really are all about family and helping families thrive. That is our motto. What can we do to help families thrive? So the things that I want to talk with you about here, just for another couple of minutes, may be hard topics for some of you, but they're truthful topics, I'll just say that. There is nothing more important in our society today than family. And I told you a little bit about my family as I started speaking, because although I had a wonderful family, it was by no means a perfect family. So I just want to ask a quick question in here. Does anyone come from or have a perfect family? Please raise your hand. Okay, I was going to offer you a job, but okay, I see how that works. So no one has a perfect family. We know that. We realize that. Our whole mission is to help families with marriages, help moms and dads stay together, help single moms get through the hard times, help single dads get through hard times. Whatever we can do to provide resources to families is the most important thing to us. And I can tell you, in the last 12 months, Focus on the Family has saved over 130,000 marriages in the last 12 months. We average over 125,000 marriages saved every year. We know that marriage is the #1 predictor of poverty. And what I mean, forgive me, let me rephrase it. Divorce is the #1 prediction of poverty. Well, that came out wrong. Golly, don't record that. Yeah, let's redo that. Rewind. And I know that many of you come from different backgrounds, and you may be in a place that you wish was in a relationship that you wish was different, but I can tell you that on average 6% of couples who are married couples, only 6% live in poverty. But as soon as that separation happens, immediately 36% of women are in poverty. So think about that for a minute and how important marriage is to our society. We have a program called Hope Restored, where couples can come that are in serious crisis. We have a location in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and a location in Branson, Missouri, where couples in crisis go to, where they can get intensive counseling to help. It has an 83% success rate, where couples are still married 2 years after they go. And I might say, we've looked high and low, and that is the highest success rate of any marriage intensive center in the world. And we're really proud of that, doing what we can do to help people with their marriages. Certainly I know there are conditions for individuals where there are times where separation and that marriage may not be anymore. And certainly in abusive situations, we want to be sure that safety is priority one. So getting away and getting things fixed. If they can't be fixed, then making sure that situation is in a place where mostly that the women are in a safe place. And sadly, sometimes that does mean separation of the couple. But marriage is super important to us. Parenting is probably second and most paramount to us. How can we help parents thrive? Last year, or I should say in the last 12 months, 970,000 parents have come to Focus on the Family, either through emails or through phone calls or directly writing to us to get help with their parenting. If any of you have ever parented, and probably most of you that are married and adults have had kids, you know how easy it is to raise kids. Kids are wonderful. They always do what you want them to do. They never cause any issues, right? I'm going through some of that right now with my own kids. I wish they made different decisions, but we can do the best that we can as parents, and then personally for me, I leave it to the Lord because He's a lot better parent than I am, for sure. But that being said, we average about, like I said, well over 900,000 parents that come to us every year to get support and to get help. So we're real pleased to be able to do that. We do that in numerous ways, mostly as providing parenting resources to parents. And a lot of individuals, whether it's in marriage or in parenting, they learn about our resources through our daily broadcast. So Focus on the Family is renownedly known because of its daily broadcast. For 42 years, we've had a daily broadcast. 6.5 million listeners every week listen to the Focus on the Family broadcast. 6.5 million. We have about 1 million listeners just through the podcast that we have that listen to our broadcast. And our broadcasts typically cover 3 areas: marriage, parenting, or engaging the culture, which I'll talk a little bit more about engaging the culture here in a few minutes. But of that 6.5 million listeners, many of those will want to find out more about who the person is that we are interviewing for the broadcast, and so they'll reach out to us to order books. A lot of individuals that come on our broadcast have written some type of resource or materials to help with marriage, parenting, or engaging the culture. And so through that, when they call in, we're happy to provide resources and books that have been written. And many of you, I'm not going to, but if I were to ask you to raise your hand if you've ever listened to the daily broadcast or if you've ever gotten any resources from Focus on the Family, there are probably a few of you in here that have, maybe many of you in here that have. So it's wonderful to be able to help people go through their times and their challenges that they have within their marriages, within their parenting, grandparenting, whatever those situations might be. We want to be here to help individuals and help families thrive. That's the most important thing for us. We're in 1,000 radio stations across the U.S. Again, I said 6.5 million listeners every week listen to our daily broadcast. Many of those guests that we have on the broadcast have gone through very difficult situations, and they want to share those to help families that are also going through difficult situations, or to help families that preventing them from having to go through difficult situations. We get about 3,000 phone calls every week into Focus on the Family. 3,000. We have 17 full-time counselors on staff. When a phone call comes into Focus on the Family, we triage that call. Basically what I mean by that is some people just call in and say, hey, I heard this on the broadcast, I'd love to get that book. Okay, we're happy to work with them and make sure we get a book shipped out to them. And other people may call in and say, I just found out that my husband's been addicted and looking at pornography for the last year. And I don't know what to do. And so we take that call, we take it to one of our counselors then, and we let that individual then speak with one of our counselors to get a consultation. And one of the greatest things that we do from an impact perspective is when we do a consultation over the phone with someone that's called in and is hurting, we then connect them with a local counselor. So if you were to go to our Focus on the Family website, at the very bottom we have a button that says Find a Counselor. And if you were to click on that button, it would pop up a screen where you could put in your zip code or your city and state, and then it would open up and it would tell you who are the Focus on the Family approved counselors near you. And then we want to connect people that are hurting to a local counselor. Now these local counselors don't work for Focus on the Family, but we put our stamp of approval on them. When you call in to Focus on the Family, one of those 17 counselors does work for Focus on the Family. But the most important thing to us is to engage with the community. We know that people are going to get the greatest care for their marriages or for parenting or for whatever they're going through, they're going to get the greatest care locally. So that's really important to us that we engage with our local communities and counselors within the local communities. It's a really key aspect for us. If I could just digress for a moment and talk to the men in here. I want to tell you that dads staying engaged with their children, and dads staying aligned with their children, and dads just sitting with your kids. You don't have to talk, just be with them, hang out. That is the greatest thing that you can do to strengthen your family, besides loving your wife. First and foremost would be that. Our kids in our society are bombarded, and we see statistics all the time of how our kids are bombarded, mostly through social media, of different apps and websites that want to tear them down. And we've got to be mindful of what our kids are watching, what they're looking at, what they're listening to. And we've got to make sure that we are engaged with our children and that they know that we love them, we care for them, and we want what's best for them. And that it ain't always easy to do. And I get it, because I've got kids that struggle. One of the greatest things as a father for me personally, my daughters are 21 years old. They're in college right now. I have one daughter at the University of Northern Colorado in Greeley, Colorado, and my other daughter is at the University of Texas in Austin, Texas. Much to my chagrin. Super proud of her, though, super proud of her. Our son is 24. He's already out of school. He's in the geotechnical service in Colorado, out of Colorado Springs. He travels around Colorado and goes to different sites to do soil testing. And then he sends me pictures. Dad, I'm on this mountainside. They're going to build a big high-end house here. Look at how beautiful it is. I'm like, thanks, son. I'm sitting in the office. I appreciate seeing that nice picture. I'd love to be out there hiking around. But one of the greatest things, though, that I cherish with my daughters is that even at the age of 21, they still hold my hand when we walk. They still hold my hand when we're sitting. And for me, that's the most, there's something about that. They're not pulling away, but that is so meaningful to me. Dads, if you have a daughter, no matter how ticked off she might be at you, she needs you to love her and hug her. There is no young lady that does not want the love of her father. Let me just be clear with you on that. And I know that there are situations in this room where maybe dads aren't involved anymore, and there is no greater or harder job, because we see this every day, and we get calls about this every day. There is no greater or harder job than a single mom, hands down. So I applaud any single moms that are in here. Your job is hard. That being said, focus on the family is not going anywhere. We plan to be here for as long as, if I can say, as long as the Lord wills us to be here. We are a Christian organization, but we reach many, many different religions. We have, out of 6.5 million listeners to our broadcast every week, we know through studies that 18% of our listeners do not go to church or are not within the Christian religion. That's about 1 million people that are looking for good parenting and marriage advice. 1 million people that we're here trying to help. So when people that don't understand Focus on the Family paint Focus on the Family as some kind of right religious organization, let me just tell you that that's not the way our organization is. And I want to close by telling you a little bit about our president, Jim Daly. Jim Daly grew up in Southern California. When he was 5 years old, his parents got divorced. He has 4 other siblings that are older than he is. His mom remarried a man named Hank, and he called him Hank the Tank. So interesting, because this man was a drill sergeant. Literally, Jim tells a story about how on Saturdays, Hank the Tank would come around with a white glove and come into each of the kids' room to check to make sure there's no dust on anything. When Jim was 9 years old, his mother died. And so Hank, who was a stepfather, literally the day of the funeral, after the funeral, packed up his bags and Hank left. all of the children in the house by themselves. As Jim says, Hank's words were, "I can't take this, I'm leaving." So now the kids are immediately in foster care. And they go to a foster care family named the Real family. Mr. and Mrs. Real, as Jim says, they are real, all right. Farm family that, as Jim puts it, was very dysfunctional. At 9 years old, Jim was accused of trying to kill Mr. Real with a butcher knife, and Jim's like, "I'm only 9, it did not happen." So over time, finally they went to another family, and Jim found sports. He was actually a very good football player. He ended up being the star quarterback for his high school football team. Jim's dad was a drunkard. When Jim was in high school, he got a little bit re-engaged with his dad, but his dad could not control his drinking. So eventually his dad was asked not to come to any more of the games. He was part of FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes. By the way, one of the most fantastic organizations out there for young kids. And Jim's coach told him one day, "Jim, you're kind of a punk." And so he sent Jim to FCA camp, and that's where Jim made a change in his life. That was positive, I'll say that. Jim's older brother at the time then was 19, so Jim moved in with his older brother. His father died, so now Jim just has his older brother and his older siblings. And through a course of miracles and through some other people at the high school taking Jim under his wings, he became the man that he is today. He did go to college. He ended up graduating, got his master's degree, and now he heads up as the president and CEO of Focus on the Family. So a man who came through so much to become such a great leader within our organization. And I tell you this because I want you to realize that there are so many young people out there that are in need. There are so many great organizations. I saw a gentleman with a CASA badge on earlier. Thank you for doing what you do. Foster care organizations, thank you for doing what you do. Orphan care, thank you for doing what you do. Moms and dads, thank you for doing what you do. Moms, or just dads, thank you for doing what you do. It makes a difference in our society. It made a difference in Jim Daly's life when people that were not his own kin stood up to help him, and it makes a difference in every community. What you do here at the Rotary Club is so important because you come together, you gather with people, and you want to do what you can to support and lift up your community. So I applaud you for that. Thank you for giving me a few minutes today. I'll be hanging around for a little while. I don't know if you do Q&A or not, but I'm happy to answer any questions. But I just want to say it's meaningful to be able to reach out into your community and help each other out. So thank you for letting me be here.
We always have our speakers sign a book that'll go to Pearl Elementary.
Yes.
And this is your opportunity to do that. That will be in the library for the kids to read.
Oh, wonderful. Great.
Thank you very, very much. Fantastic opportunity. Great.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Great for sharing. That is really great information.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, I'd love to
We'll
take
do that after we finish other announcements too.
I'll give you time to sign this.
Yes. And we're going to put him back on. I'm just trying some different arrangement, a flow of things, just to break things up so we don't have the same monotony every time. So let's see what else we got next on slides. Throwing Myra off. Oh yes, there's some kind of a live fire exercise that Henry's got going to be going on tomorrow. If you've already signed up for that, have a great time there. Next slide. I just got some details about that. Next slide. What's going on in a week? Does anyone know what's going on in a week? A lot? Just a little? Now I did mention earlier at the very beginning that this is the most active club of any that I've ever heard of in Rotary or ever seen. In fact, it's kind of interesting when you think about it. This little thing we call a Field of Honor, you know, a little over a week-long celebration honoring veterans and first responders. When other people come here from other clubs that have been involved at high level in Rotary, they look at this and they go, your club is doing a district level event. Not something the typical club does, but we don't have a typical club. We have a lot of people who really make a difference. We have a lot of Rotarians in our club. Unfortunately, maybe others don't have that. Fortunately, we do. A couple things are going on that gives you kind of a schedule of events. Scott.
Yeah, I can say here, that pretty much says it all up there, November 7th.
To start the hands-on work after Jeannie's year-long hands-on work of getting this off the ground. I will be over here by the volunteer table with Denise. I still need people to fuel the lights. That's the only heavy lifting thing. And then some other things in the 7th. Anybody that's signed up to help with the rebar at the storage unit or mark the field, I'll be over here by the table afterwards and I can talk and get things going. And oh, by the way, happy 50% off Candy Day, of course. So anyway, thank you.
Fantastic, thank you, Scott. So you can see, Scott is just touching on some of those events. Denise has taken the time to put together a ability to sign up online, but not only that, because not everyone is comfortable in doing that, she also has the ability to sign up on paper, okay? There are over 200 slots. At least when I counted last night, I hit about 260 at 11 o'clock last night, and my eyes were crossing, and I'm not sure how well I did my counting. Well, that's only 2 slots per member, so it's not like we really have a whole lot to do there. But we need the Rotarians in this club, which I know we have many of, and most everyone is a Rotarian, to step up and sign up for those slots. Put your name down on there, and it will make all the difference in the world, because you are the face of our Rotary. You are the face of Rotary to the people of Georgetown. And when those people come there, you notice this nice young lady, and I forgot your name, I apologize. You come here and see Rotary and go, okay, this is an amazing thing, I need to be a part of this. Okay? One of our sponsors, this is an amazing thing, I need to be a part of this. That's what keeps happening. It doesn't happen because of me, because I don't do anything. I just stand up here and talk as a talking head. You've seen those on television, they're pretty well worthless, okay? It happens because of all of y'all. That's what makes all this happen. It's not something George does, it's something that every person here collectively does together. Those are some of the different events, some of the things going on. Henry's working on the tribute to World War II, is that right? No, yeah, you're doing that. Honor Walk. How many people signed up for the Honor Walk? That's the first Saturday, Saturday the 9th. Very important to do that. The Sertoma Club is putting that on in conjunction with us, working together with us in partnership, also for supporting some of the organizations that we want to support through what we're doing with the Field of Honor and the flag sales. So all of those are very interesting things. A couple other things I want to highlight on there. You see this on your table, this little half sheet of paper. Has something about a luncheon. When is the luncheon? 2 weeks. Somebody knew what it was, that's awesome. So, if you're planning on being at Rotary in 2 weeks, and you don't fill this out, there may not be lunch for you. Does that make sense? It's a special lunch. It's much nicer than most of them. Fill it out so we know that you're going to be there and we'll have lunch for you. If you don't fill it out, you won't have lunch. That would not be a good scenario. Okay? What else do we have on this list? Opening ceremony on November 10th. Field trips all the time, all during the entire week. Who's in charge of those field trips? Where is he hiding? There he is. How's things going? How many kids are we going to have out there coming to visit the field? About 1,000 kids coming to visit the field. All of them middle school, like last year?
All 8th grade, Georgetown ISD, they graduated. So, yeah, plus we got some homeschools coming out, and then another school coming out as well. So,
Fantastic.
I still need, if you're a veteran, I still need some veterans for the veterans panels. So come see me, I'll be standing right over here.
Awesome, awesome. That's fantastic. What else am I missing on this thing? Opening ceremony, field trips, the Patriot Ball. Is Rhonda here today? I did not see her. She's not here. She had to go to a conference. You know, people are just trying to fit this in on their jobs. So most of the people working on this are not retired and, you know, able to spend all this time in the world on it. They're working in amongst all the job that they have. Patriot Ball, she needs volunteers there also to put that together. Myra, do you have enough volunteers for what you're doing at the Patriot Ball? Yes. She does. Fantastic. Awesome. Now, you know, Myra has not been with us for, is it okay if I tell people? Okay, I just always ask. Has not been with us for about 3 weeks because she's been flat on her back in pain. And she's going to undergo surgery right after the Field of Honor to try and remedy that situation. So pray for Myra. We need to make sure. There's Rhonda. She made it. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Is there anything, what else do you need help with, Rhonda? Come on up here.
Oh my gosh.
I know the list is 100 pages long, but from a people perspective, what can we do to support you?
Let's see. Right now we're looking just for some help during the event, like with the 50-50 raffles, checking in. I believe we need help checking in, Myra. Do we still need a few more people for that?
I'm filled.
She's filled, so we got that covered. And greeters, I need some greeters as well. So I think that right now that's what we got. I probably need help putting together the silent auction packages. We have several items to kind of package together, and I'll probably be doing that the week of Field of Honor. So I have an idea of what I want to gather or put together. We just need physical hands to put them together. So if you're interested in doing any of that fun stuff, please reach out and let me know. And if you've got any wine or spirits to donate, I'd like to have a few more of those types of bottles and items. So any questions, or anybody have any questions about the Patriots Ball? I'd be happy to answer them.
Yes, Denise.
As a side, if you're not going to the Patriots Ball, we need your help at the field, because most of the people that are going to be there all week will be going to the Patriots Ball. So we have a huge void for that day.
Perfect, thank you. Michael, did you have something? Yeah.
I married the flag lady of Georgetown and have become a shameless promoter for the Field of Honor. And as of such, I want to remind everybody to bring a bottle of wine or a bottle of liquor so that we can fill 2 baskets to sell or auction off in the silent auction. They'll be great items. Bring them next week. We'll be meeting at the VFW, won't we?
That is correct.
Don't forget that. And I was a little late because I put together some new posters. Pick one up, put it in your, at your business, somewhere where people will see it. They're promoting the actual spectacular opening ceremonies. Oh, has the wrong,
Opening ceremony.
wrong month? Oh, okay. Well, don't pick any up then. Or take a magic marker and mark through it.
Now, did you say that was for the opening ceremony?
Pardon?
It's not October 10th. It's supposed to be November 10th, huh? Well,
Yeah, November 10th. Well,
details.
sleep deprivation.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what month is it anyway? It's November.
It's November 10th, yes. You had the day right, it's just not the right month. You know, you may be able to tell just by that minor little mistake like that, that Michael is being worked to death. Have you seen all of the different things? Have you seen the coins? These fantastic coins? And this year, the pin looks just like the coin. It's just a smaller version that pins on your lapel. You definitely want to get some of these, give them away. I was up in Colorado talking to someone up there, and he was bragging about the coins that he had received from the military. I said, well, I'll have one for you that you can't get anyplace else. And I described it to him. He wanted to support our event. So that's how excited people get when you tell them what's really going on. Yes, Michael did mention VFW. Go ahead, next slide, please. Well, that's not yet. But anyway, VFW, next week, we are meeting at the VFW, not here. You don't have to register for that. Okay, we'll have normal lunch, there'll be box lunches. But we're meeting at the VFW. We'll be putting flags together that morning, so come early.
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock, put flags together.
All we have to do is put flags on poles.
There you go. We don't have to paint flags or nothing like that, sew them up? Okay, good deal. All righty. Anything else that I've missed in the Field of Honor, Jeannie?
I just wanted to give you guys a little update here on the flags. So far, we have pre-sold 800 flags. That is a great job, you guys. You've done great. I think we have close to 350 Patriot Ball seats already sold. We need another 150 or so. So please get your neighbors and friends to do that. This morning, State Representative Terry Wilson had somebody from his office drop off 1,500 pocket constitutions that we're going to be giving the kids and the teachers when they come on field trips. So I wanted you to know that because it's one expense we don't have this year, thanks to State Representative Terry Wilson. We've got a lot of media things happening this week. You're going to see a lot of media at the field. We'll tell you more about that next week. And finally, we have over $215,000 in sponsorships, of which 60% is cash. So I think great things happening. Thanks to everybody who's helped on that.
I just want to say, everyone, please say a little prayer for great weather on opening ceremonies.
Yeah.
All week, absolutely, absolutely. So, the Field of Honor, in the middle of all this, we're still doing all sorts of activities that our club constantly does all the time. This past Saturday, ramp build. That was, you know, Larry Baird is a little bit deceptive sometimes. He said, we got an easy ramp for you, it's only 21 feet long. They go, we'll knock that out in an hour or two, right, Dennis? No big deal. We finished at 1:30. That's the latest we've almost ever finished any ramp. Because it wasn't the standard width, everything had to be modified, everything was different. Everything was custom made to make it work, but we did finish it up and the lady is extremely pleased. Kathy just absolutely loves that ramp and wants to say thank you to everybody here. Last week, next slide. Last week we talked about the wallet project. We don't have a box, but Kat's sitting over there. If you brought your wallets for giving out to the kids in need this Christmas, you leave them with Kat. If you wanted to give her some money to help buy wallets, leave that with Kat. Either way, we already talked about the honor walk. Next slide. Those are the links and information that I provided in the newsletter that I sent out last night at 11 or whatever time. You probably could tell me what time they finally went out. The link to volunteer, the link to order flags, the link to sign up for the 5K walk. I did the attachment that was this right here, and the link to order your tickets for the Patriot Ball. Try to keep it all in one place so you can figure out all the things all at one time. Thank you very, very much. Next slide is our calendar. We already highlighted some of the key things. Multi-club luncheon and VFW. Next Friday is VFW. The Friday after that's the multi-club luncheon. Board meeting on the 22nd. It's delayed this month because we didn't want to do it in the middle of the Field of Honor. Are there any other announcements for the good of Rotary? Billy Ray Stubblefield has an announcement and a very, very important one. Thank you.
I regretfully have to inform you that we have an empty chair over in our customary table that we occupy every week. Our dear friend Charlie Baker has passed. About 6 weeks ago, he was sitting in the chair next to Fred Sellers, and I noticed he wasn't eating, and he excused himself, got up and indicated he was not feeling well and went home. Turns out he was admitted to the hospital shortly thereafter, and I got a phone call Tuesday from his daughter Annette, and she indicated he passed away on Monday. He had a cancer and was unable to swallow and had considerable discomfort for the last few weeks of his life. Charlie was my hero. He was an American hero. He had the Silver Star. He was a combat hero in Vietnam. He was shot down twice in enemy territory, rescued both times. Was nominated for the Medal of Honor, received 2 citations for the Silver Star. By the way, in the middle of all of that time, he graduated summa cum laude from Syracuse University and served as a distinguished graduate from the War College and served his country in Europe. And as I say, he was my hero, and I'm sorry that he's no longer with us. I challenge you to place a flag in the field of honor in his name. I will do so, certainly. And I hope that we will push it over 1,000 flags with flags in his name. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I know we have all this Field of Honor stuff going on, but we are getting really close to the end of the year and Christmas, and we are starting to organize our Christmas committee and getting things together for our Christmas party in December. All of the folks who normally help me with that have already received an email, but if any new folks are interested in helping with shopping, wrapping, decorating, or any of that, please let us know, and we'll add you to the list. Thank you.
For Charlie?
Yes, there will be a memorial, but the time and place and so forth has not yet been determined. I will be informed by the family and I will share that with all.
Thank you very, very much. I learned about that on Tuesday, and I was going to rush and send something out to everyone, but after talking to Billy Ray, there wasn't a need to rush because there wouldn't be a memorial right away. And I thought it would be better to hear from Billy Ray, his dear friend, and anyone who knows Charlie knows what a loss we have in our club to not have him here anymore, to not have his encouragement, his inspiration, his spirit, and we will dearly miss him. Please stand and join me in the four-way test. Of the things we think, say, or do, first,
is it the truth?
Second,
is it fair to all concerned?
Third,
will it be better friendships?
And fourth,
will it be beneficial to all concerned?
We are adjourned.